All right, World History, Section 2, Hinduism and Buddhism. In what ways were religion and society intertwined in ancient India? So you're going to see a pretty strong connection between these two things. So we'll look at the essential beliefs of Hinduism. We'll look at how the caste system shaped India. We'll look at the key teachings of Buddhism and the way that Buddhism grew and changed as it spread beyond just India into other places. So when we look at the beliefs of Hinduism, one of the things is this is one of the oldest, most complex religions in the world. There's a variety of reasons for this. One is it's a mixture of the Aryans and the Indus beliefs. So there's these overlapping beliefs. There's lots of diverse groups inside of India that are going to add and contribute and blend into Hinduism. It makes it very complex. Lots of rituals, lots of long text. They've just been able to accumulate religious beliefs for a very long time. But at the basis of it, you have this one force, the Brahman, which underlies everything. And again, all of these other individual gods, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, they give a concrete form to this idea of this overall spirit or soul. What we learn from the Hindu beliefs are all from these Vedas, these hymns, these rituals that over time went from word of mouth to being written down, and that has kind of constantly been added to over the course of history. So if we look at kind of the basic beliefs here, the goal of life is to achieve moksha, and moksha is this where we kind of reach a perfect understanding and our soul will unite with Brahman. So our Atman, our soul, once we reach that level, the way to get there is to free ourselves of selfish desires. And there's this process of reincarnation where we get do-overs. We get to live life after life after life until we kind of perfect ourselves, and that's when we unite with Brahman. So karma is this idea that our actions in this life are going to affect the next life. So if we follow our dharma, our religious and moral duties, to the best of our ability and without selfish desires, that means that the next life we are going to move up in the social class into the next so that we get closer and closer. If you think of it as kind of climbing a ladder. Every time we do this, we get higher and higher and closer to moksha. The other thing that they teach is nonviolence, being kind to all living things. So when we look at this caste system that's going to develop, castes are social groups. There's a whole set of rules that uphold this caste system, that each social group has their own set of norms and expectations and duties that they're supposed to follow. In some ways, they almost view caste as almost like a different species because we're on different levels of spiritual understanding. Brahmins at the top of the caste system are more pure. And again, there's all of these rules. So for example, Brahmins that are supposed to be preachers and teachers, they are supposed to help people lead better lives so that they get closer. When we look at the way castes are going to affect social order, this is going to bring a lot of stability because every single person, every single group knows exactly what their role is to play in society. And karma is going to determine caste. So we know that if we don't do a good job, we're going to have bad karma and we're going to move down the spiritual ladder instead of moving up. It also gives every group a very clear identity and sense of purpose in society. It also creates this interdependence because each group needs the other. So for example, if you're a farmer, people need your food. But farmers also need the teachings of the Brahmins so that they can move up in life. If we look at Buddha, Buddha. So Buddha was born Siddhartha Gautama. He was a rich prince. For most of his life, he really didn't experience sorrow, suffering, hunger, any of those types of things. And then one day as he's a teenager, he goes out on a ride and he experiences illness, he experiences death, he experiences sadness. And for the first time, he really becomes aware of how little he knows. So he leaves his life behind, he leaves his wife, his daughter, and he seeks a deeper understanding. And at the age of 29, he has an epiphany. And at that moment, he becomes an enlightened one. He believes he understands the way to achieve peace in this life. And so he comes up with what he calls the Four Noble Truths. And these Four Noble Truths are there. Life has inevitable suffering. The reason we suffer is because we are selfish. There's a way to end suffering, and you can do that by following the Eightfold Path, which is going to lead you away from selfishness. He describes this Eightfold Path as like playing a guitar string. What you want to do on all of these things is you want to be like a guitar string. You don't want to be so loose that you don't make any sound, but you also don't want to be wound so tight that when someone goes to play you, it snaps. You got to find that middle path, that perfect amount of caring and being able to go with the flow with things. The way to do this is really to develop a moral life, that we're going to think good thoughts. We're going to have a value on truth, that we're going to try and remove evil and selfishness, and we're not going to talk mean and bad about people. And through meditation, we can follow this Eightfold Path and reach nirvana. And that is a bit like moksha. That is where we are free of our life, and we will, find an eternal happiness. So when we look at comparing these two, this is a very good way of showing the similarities and the differences. So I'm not going to talk through all of these, but when you look at some of the similarities, basically selfishness is what both religions believe causes a lot of our pain. Emphasis on being passionate about what you're doing, but also being nonviolent. The idea that people are going to reincarnate until they can reach the perfect understanding. They both kind of teach God's meditation, both in India. Now, one of the things that's a little bit different about Buddhism is Buddha didn't think we were going to have to redo this over and over and over again. A person could reach nirvana in one lifetime. If you just accepted the Four Noble Truths and followed the Eightfold Path, you could reach a perfect understanding. So Buddhism is going to spread. After he dies, disciples kind of collect his teachings. They begin to teach it and spread it. As it goes, one of the things about Buddhism is it's extremely easy. I mean, we start talking about only needing to know 12 things, right? Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path, that's pretty simple. The other thing is, because it offers the end of suffering in one lifetime, it has a big appeal to those people in the lower caste, those that are down and out. That's who Buddhism is going to reach out to the most, especially this idea of love and treating all people with respect. That's going to spread pretty quickly. What's going to happen over a period of time, especially in India, is it's going to kind of get absorbed into Hinduism. And it's not going to be a very big religion within India. However, it does go to China, and it ends up having a lot more followers in China.